Hey everybody, I'm live. How you doing? I'm just getting on here. I want to talk about this, so I'm going to. And I'll start first of all with something that I wrote, and I'll read it, and then I'll go from there. Okay. Oakland A's relocation to Las Vegas is a done deal because of the Las Vegas Stadium Authority. It's unfortunate for Oakland Raiders fans who have to watch, like myself, who have to watch Oakland A's fans, like myself, go through the same painful process as we did as Raiders fans in losing the Raiders in Las Vegas 7 years ago. This time, some of the media, they're playing games with you all, with the fans, and giving false hope such that any little thing that's put out there by organizations like schools over stadiums will trip up the A's path from Oakland to Las Vegas. And then schools over stadiums banks on the idea that you're not going to actually look under the hood of what they're proposing, what they put out, to find out that they haven't actually done the research that Chris Daly says they have done. But that's another story for the moment. Okay. Oakland A's fans should be ready because the relocation is a done deal. All right. The stadium financing is there. Goldman Sachs and Greg Carey are old hat at this. And Major League Baseball wants the athletics in the Las Vegas Valley simply because it has taken not just a long time for them to get something happening in Oakland, it's been over politicized, all right, but that it's easier for a developer to get through the process and toward groundbreaking in Las Vegas, Nevada, than in Oakland. And we've seen that fact played out in Oakland many, 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 many times. All right. Going all the way back to 1985 for large scale private projects. And generally, they are always centered around race. In other words, we don't want this subsidy to go to these white developers because African Americans have not gotten their share. And that is a legitimate argument, but it also points to a poorly planned operation. All right. Okay. All right. A's fans do not pay attention to Oakland's government. Don't. If A's fans did, they would sue the Oakland government and expect and demand, and even perhaps even design for us as Oaklanders, a better government. But athletics fans don't think that way, which leads me to wonder how many athletics fans actually live in Oakland and how much of this is really about Oakland as opposed to fighting for their right to party like they used to and go to games when they wanted to and skip a lot more games, leaving this, paltry attendance figure. Because I don't want the A's in San Jose. I never did. I didn't like the idea. I thought that it was an anti-black move, to be honest with you. But when we tried to build a ballpark for the athletics, we didn't directly focus on their needs. We didn't, as we should have done, tear up part of the parking lot, the Coliseum, and build a new facility there for the athletics. We could have gotten that done a long time ago. We didn't do it. We've drawn up pretty picture after pretty picture after pretty picture, called it Coliseum City, but always hired the wrong developer. Remember when Mayor Kwan said she had the Prince of Dubai in the back pocket to finance Coliseum City, and it wasn't the case? Remember how embarrassing that was? Remember Floyd Kephart, who didn't have the wealth he claimed to have and really was trying to schnook the city into giving him an ENA so that he can then wiggle his way into having Mark Davis give him a piece of Raider ownership in turn for $200 million that we as the city were going to give Floyd Gephardt. Did you know that? Okay. Yeah, these are the kind of gangsters. Yeah, I said it just like that. Gangsters we've allowed to swim in the waters of our city. All right. If it wasn't Kephart, it were other people like, hey, Rick Tripp, nice guy. Wanted to build the A's ballpark, but he had a funny financing idea based on landing fees. Landing fees. A friend of mine, Deshaun Dixon, was his architect, put together a wonderful design at the estuary for the Coliseum Stadium, for the Oakland Athletic Stadium or ballpark. Said to Rick Tripp, you should show Zinni your spreadsheet. He sent me a document that wasn't a spreadsheet, it was a term sheet. And then he literally bent over backwards to tell me that it had revenue and expense figures on it, as if I'm some sort of damn fool. Okay? There are a lot of reasons why I behaved the way I have over the past 4 years. It's because of what I saw in the time before those 4 years, going all the way back to 1996. All right. Okay. So, Las Vegas Stadium Authority will, as they did before 7 years ago, show us how it's done. They'll get these things done, and we'll be forced to sit back and watch. And you would say, Zinni, what makes the Las Vegas Stadium Authority so great? They follow a process. They're not led by a politician. You see, people who are trained in planning school, who got their master's degree at places like Berkeley, are supposed to be the point people that then inform the politicians and give the politicians their pre-written statements. Why? To make the politicians look good, to make the elected officials look good. But in Oakland, we've changed that around. The elected official, it doesn't matter if it's Jerry Brown or Ron Dellums or Gene Kwan or the greatest example, my god sister, Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf, have to feel like they've got the stuff, the training to do what I do in managing projects, in visioning projects, in calculating tax increments, in marshaling the necessary people to form a bid for the 2005 Super Bowl, which is no small effort. If you don't know what it is, you should ask. I came to the NFL votes of bringing in 2005 Super Bowl that was in Jacksonville to Oakland. We lost to Jacksonville. Why did we lose? Because we had a city, my city, Oakland, that didn't believe it could win. Didn't believe in me and was shocked when we got to the point we were one of 3 finalist cities. Miami and Jacksonville were the other 2. We lost in the third ballot with Jerry begging Paul Tagliabue not to give the award to Jacksonville. The same Jerry Brown that showed up to my meeting in the NFL offices in 2000 in March, almost 20 minutes late, and left with an hour on the clock and pissed off the commissioner. And we were left with Scott McKibben, our representative from the Beast Bay business community, who was then representing A&G newspaper, to save us by explaining how the business community could come to bat in helping with the production of the hosting of the Super Bowl. Oakland lives to not do things well when it comes to public-private partnerships. And we've had that history from 1985 with the Rouse Company and how Rouse wanted to build this 2 million square foot shopping center. But Paul Cobb got together 45 community groups because they didn't want public money. to go to downtown because East Oakland hadn't gotten it. Sound familiar, folks? It is 2023. We have the same doggone problem. Okay? And so a lot of you want to blame John Fisher for that. It is not John Fisher's role to fix Oakland. It is not John Fisher or Dave Cowell's role to fix Oakland government. It is not any developer's role. It is the government's role to run itself and to guide the developer and set up the proper guidelines for the developer, including the proper legislation and funding to be the developer's helping hand. That was not Oakland. The only hand Oakland offered was the one that handed out to the A's that said, hey, you want us to help you, our staff, pay us. Cough up $8 million. Jeez. Did Las Vegas do that? No. Think about it, folks. These are the hard facts behind why we're in this position. I'm giving them to you. Straight, no chaser. I know a lot of you don't like it, but I don't care. I have lived this. I was explaining this to Chris De Benedetti, all right? De Benedetti writes like he had nothing to do with any of this. He was the chairperson of the Ron Delm Sports Entertainment Task Force and was a political player like anyone else. He knows it. But for some reason, best known only to Chris, he's afraid to talk about it. He wants to have everybody sit back and think he's this objective journalist. Okay? He's anything but. And there's no such thing at all. Chris is a nice guy, great to his family, has been involved in this process for a long time. But he does all of us a disservice by not telling the truth about his involvement, going back to the Save the days, the Save the Oakland days and everything else. And it's not because he did anything wrong. He didn't. I'm saying he knows how the city operates. All right. Those others who know how Oakland operates, some of them passed on. Some are so old and so disgusted they don't want to talk about it anymore. Some of you don't want to hear it. You come and you say, he's talking, I'm going to leave. But it doesn't erase the fact that our city is hyper dysfunctional. Then we need to return to process, to a step-by-step set of instructions for the establishment of everything from developer agreements to tax increment financing to the involvement of the business community via advocacy. Everything should have a process, because that's true for every other stadium authority in the country. Heck, it's true for every other government in the country. Why not Oakland? So we're at a place where, thankfully, we can start over. And we can overcome this quickly if we collectively focus. Now I'm going to read your comments because, I missed them. It says, just weird that Las Vegas is always trying to get Bay Area teams. Well, it's only twice, but I don't think it's weird. I just think, I think it's weird that the Bay Area doesn't hold on to its organizations, that we don't do business retention, or for that matter, business attraction. And that's all Las Vegas is doing. They're doing classic economic development work, but let's read against. Think about this. Remember Portland? Portland tried to get the A's Why not blame Portland too? Portland has a great economic development program, a great chamber of commerce. They're acting just like Las Vegas, but without the gambling. Or let's take San Antonio, same thing. Okay. Or Salt Lake City, or I believe it was another city. Yeah, Salt Lake City. Let's take Salt Lake City. Another example. All of these cities do economic development better than Oakland does. So what do you expect? At some point, some one of them is going to win. It just so happens that the Oakland Raiders gave the Oakland A's the blueprint for getting out of here. Getting out of here. I hate to say it. Because prior to this era, Oakland elected officials always thought, why should we hurry up and make these stadium changes? They're not going anywhere. All right. You know who used to say that? A guy who was good to me, but he did say it. Larry Reed, Oakland District 7 council member. They ain't going nowhere. They ain't going nowhere. Well, you know what? You say they ain't going nowhere enough times, and guess what? They start going somewhere. So all of you who are criticizing what John said, I'm asking you, what planet are you on? Seriously. John is right. He's tired of waiting. And it has been a long time. And then Sheng says, well, or you say, well, they had the financing. Oh, really? Let's explore that for a second. Let's really think about that. The Athletics said, hey, initially, we need $350 million for sea level rise at Howard Terminal. Have you ever seen the sea level rise map? Do you realize that Howard Terminal is part of it, and Oakland, East Oakland, is even larger part of it by a factor of 10? Do you understand what I mean by sea level rise? It's where, hey, during rains, the rains come up to like 62 inches in areas like 81st Street in East Oakland. You ever seen the videos of the trucks running through there, splashing up water as high as 10 feet in the air? It happened just a couple of years ago. And now here come the Oakland Roots building what looks like a kind of a catch spill basin for a water reservoir out of Malibu Golf and Games. Yeah, I said it just like that. Take a look at what they built. It's got walls around it. It looks like a basin for water, which really foretells how it's going to behave when the rains come. Watch. Because they don't have significant drainage for it. Wait a minute. They don't have drainage at all. Watch. Okay? Watch. Is it elevated? No. Watch. Okay? Should it be? Significantly, yeah. It shouldn't even be there. They should be in the Coliseum itself. And we keep playing crap on crap. When do we stop? Okay? So, when do we stop? All right? So, we don't do economic development correctly. We used to. That's the problem, Raider Gaines. Says, do you think the schools over stadium lawsuit? Let's take that, okay? Schools over stadium, I'm going to just take a quick shot at it. This is why, first of all, the first lawsuit failed. They're not thorough in what they do. They make the same mistake this time that I made in filing a complaint with the Nevada Ethics Commission when the Raiders were trying to leave. I thought I had the right answers. But they give you a form that has a blank field about yay big. They don't tell you how to fill out that form in discussing the problem, in making your argument as plaintiff. That's a landmine that Las Vegas and Nevada sets up. Because within what you write, they can find any little matter that is not aligned with any regulation that may happen that might apply to the issue if they choose to look for it. And when they've decided they want a project, they do. But see, the people who run schools over stadiums, they haven't gotten that message. I don't know what's going on up here. So the whole issue regarding their attempt to say, well, we're going to get these petitions signed. We're going to write this argument. Gets scuttled because they didn't do it the right way. It gets nixed for technical reasons. But here comes Chris Daly with another one saying, oh, we found all of these problems and SB1 is not in line with the Constitution. Seriously? And you would say, what problems? Chris and company say, well, it takes a 2/3, you have to have a 2/3 vote at the minimum, right? In either house. That's what they wrote. Do you know what the voting outcome was this May? In the assembly, it was 31 yeses, 4 noes. That's way over 2/3. What was in the Senate? It was 21-0. It was a blowout. So I'm thinking, what is Chris smoking? And then what are you smoking by listening to this guy without even checking out? This is the doggone internet, folks. What is wrong with you? They play on the idea that they think you're too stupid to challenge them. You're not going to look. And you know what? Judging by some of the tweets that I've read, they're right. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Read. For doggone sake. It took me 5 minutes to figure out that and another one. Oh, what was it? Well, you can't, it's against the law to have a bond issue that is greater than 2% of the total assessed value of Nevada. Do you know what the total assessed value of Nevada is? Okay, first of all, for the stadium, all right, you're talking about a total assessed value of maybe 1.5 billion. Okay, maybe. But then they don't even say that. They say it's not even that. They say it's the bond issue itself. The bond issue itself is only $120 million. It's only 120 million. Okay. So what is 120 million divided by 82.1 billion? It's 0.000014%. That's way under 2%, folks. So they think you're not going to look at this stuff. All right. And remember, I'm getting this from what they put on their own press release. They're stupid enough, and I'm saying it just like that. They are stupid enough to put this language in their own press release, give it to Casey Pratt to put it out there, which means they're not doing Casey any favors. They're asking a trained journalist to trust them and distribute that stuff. I called Casey. I said, Casey, that's a slap lawsuit. It's a nuisance lawsuit. They have no intention of being right about anything. All they're trying to do is throw some blank in the game. That's it. But that, if they keep it up, could lead to what's called a slap lawsuit. Okay? Slap, a nuisance lawsuit. And folks, you do not want to be in the middle of a developer that files a slap lawsuit. If a developer files a slap lawsuit against you, all right, that means you caused them a lot of trouble. You put yourself in their crosshairs, and you may end up coughing up a lot of money. All right. SLAP means strategic lawsuit against public participation. SLAP. Your first lawsuits brought on by individuals and entities to dissuade their critics from continuing, all right, from continuing to produce negative publicity. Okay. So Chris Daly and company, by putting out this garbage stuff, that's where they're headed. I said a long time ago, why don't you just make a deal with Dave Cobble if you really care about the schools? They're going to pull in $757 million their first year, if not north of that. That would make them the richest organization in baseball. Okay? Why not do a deal with them if you care about the schools? And I say that because, Mr. Marks, I don't see him with kids as his focus. I see a lot more pictures with his face out there. He doesn't look like he's really serious about schools and Nevada education at all. I can't say that about Chris Daly because I know Chris Daly is. I may not like the way Chris goes about certain things, but I actually do like Chris. Okay. So, all right. Alexander Marks, I don't know to say I like him or dislike him, but I know his approach is not kosher. Okay. To me. Okay. To me. All right. RD says you can always file a lawyer at $400 an hour to file your nuisance lawsuit. And then he says, Alexander Marks is doing this to fleece Oakland for his personal gain. Culinary union, construction labor, real teachers union is on the other side. He says schools over stadiums isn't going anywhere. Hopers. He says Mayor Shang Tao is just another mayor with nothing left to lose. Freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose. Rita Gans says forget about them. And yeah, so that's where we're at. Okay. So, and thanks. There's a better way to go about this, but I wanted to make sure that I address this issue because I've got a couple of other live streams I'm going to get out of the way. The financing, this is all downhill now from now. And I also want to be known that, again, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority is a can-do organization. And they have the lease already written. It's right there. This will be another example of how the great nationally known lawyers who build these processes do their work, like Mark Arnold, who's flying in from Houston to be the lawyer who reforms the Las Vegas Stadium Authority. I got to know Mark when he was working on the Raiders issue. Okay. So Stephen Hill is quite literally for Dave Cobble, bringing the gang back. That's what it is. Okay. So there we are. All right, folks. I'll be back with more later, like in a few seconds. I'll see you.